you know, Lincoln delivered his second inaugural address on March 4th, 1865, and TED News has it covered.
Here are some of the highlights.
Now, at the expiration of 4 years, during which public declarations have been constantly called forth on every point and phase of the great contest which still absorbs the attention and engrosses the energies of the nation, little that is new could be presented. The progress of our arms, upon which all else chiefly depends, is as well known to the public as to myself, and it is, I trust, reasonably satisfactory and encouraging to all. With high hope for the future, no prediction in regard to it is ventured. On the occasion corresponding to this 4 years ago, all thoughts were anxiously directed to an impending civil war. All dreaded it. All sought to avert it. While the inaugural address was being delivered from this place, devoted altogether to saving the Union without war, insurgent agents were in the city seeking to destroy it without war, seeking to dissolve the Union and divide effects by negotiation. Both parties deprecated war, but one of them would make war rather than let the nation survive, and the other would accept war rather than let it perish. And the war came. 1/8 of the whole population were colored slaves, not distributed generally over the Union, but localized in the southern part of it. These slaves constituted a peculiar and powerful interest. All knew that this interest was, somehow, the cause of the war. To strengthen, perpetuate, and extend this interest was the object for which the insurgents would rend the Union, even by war, while the government claimed no right to do more than to restrict the territorial enlargement of it. Neither party expected for the war the magnitude or the duration which it has already attained. Neither anticipated that the cause of the conflict might cease with, or even before, the conflict itself should cease. Each looked for an easier triumph, and a result less fundamental and astounding. Both read the same Bible and pray to the same God, and each invokes his aid against the other. It may seem strange that any men should dare to ask a just God's assistance in wringing their bread from the sweat of other men's faces. But let us judge not, that we be not judged. The prayers of both could not be answered. That of neither has been answered fully. The Almighty has his own purposes. Woe unto the world because of offenses, for it must needs be that offenses come. But woe to that man by whom the offense cometh. If we shall suppose that American slavery is one of those offenses which, in the
Here on the Late Night News with Evan McFarland and Donna Ross.
This just in, President Abraham Lincoln was shot just a few moments ago on April 14th, 1868 at the Ford Theater in Washington, D.C. while watching a play with the First Lady Mary.
He is still alive, but a doctor concluded he won't live through the night.
The killer is identified as John Wilkes Booth. He's still on the run.
If you see this man, please let the authorities know.
As of now, it seems as Andrew Johnson will be stepping up to become the President of the United States of America.
Please keep Lincoln in your prayers in case a miracle happens. We will keep you updated on this tragic day.
On this hot July day in 1868, the 14th Amendment was ratified. The amendment grants citizenship to all persons born or naturalized in the United States, which included former slaves who had just been freed from the Civil War. This amendment was rejected by the southern states but passed because it met the requirements of the 3/4 votes of the states. This amendment will change the way the nation is run.
Now finally, in 1896, the Plessy versus Ferguson case has ended. It has been ongoing since 1892.
This case started on June 7, 1892. 30-year-old Homer Plessy was jailed for sitting in the white car of the East Louisiana Railroad. He was arrested and the case went all the way to the United States Supreme Court. Plessy's lawyer argued that the Separate Car Act violated the 13th and 14th Amendment. Amendments to the Constitution. In 1896, the Supreme Court of the United States heard the case and held the Louisiana segregation statute constitutional. Speaking, Justice Henry Brown wrote, "A statute which implies merely a legal distinction between the white and colored races has no tendency to destroy the legal equality of the two races. The object of the 14th Amendment was undoubtedly to enforce the absolute equality of the two races before the law. But in the nature of things, it could not have been intended to abolish distinctions based upon color or to enforce social as distinguished from political equality or a commoning of the two races upon terms unsatisfactory to either." Justice John Harlan, the lone dissenter, saw the horrific consequences of the decision. "Our Constitution is colorblind and neither knows nor tolerates classes among citizens. In respect of civil rights, all citizens are equal before the law."
The present decision, it may well be apprehended, will not only stimulate aggressions more or less brutal and irritating upon the admitted rights of colored citizens, but will encourage the belief that it is possible, by means of state enactments, to defeat the beneficent purposes which the people of the United States had in view when they adopted the recent amendments of the Constitution. The Plessy decision set the precedent that separate facilities for blacks and whites were constitutional as long as they were equal. The separate but equal.